Hey everybody, this is Melanie from the HedonistCook.com. Tonight I'm going to be making a video on how to do chicken and dumplings. It's really simple and it's really good. So the first thing, as always, that you want to do is make sure you have all of your ingredients ready and set up, and we'll get started. So to get started, the first thing we're going to do is put in a bunch of our ingredients. We're going to simmer it for 30 minutes. So the ingredients we're putting in are chicken breasts that have bone and skin on them, the onions, the carrots, the celery, the chicken broth, and then your seasonings. Basically what you're doing here is you're making a chicken stock, kind of a cheating chicken stock because you have chicken broth that you're putting in here. You'll see the carrots are the only things that I've cut up nicely because again we're going to save those for the final product. Now we're going to put in our 4 cups of chicken broth. Next thing is we're going to add our seasonings. So just like a regular stock, we're going to add about 8 peppercorns, a little bit of thyme, a bay leaf, and about 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. Kosher salt is a great thing to have on hand. I recommend that everyone go get some. And then our 3 chicken breasts. Now this is a chicken breast that has the bone and the skin on it. Most of us aren't used to cooking with this because we use boneless, skinless. But the reality is most of the flavor from any of the meat that you're going to be using comes from the skin and the bone. And that's how you make a stock. So we're going to bring this up to a simmer. We're going to partially cover it. We're going to wait about 30 minutes until the chicken is cooked all the way through. Once that happens, we're going to strain it. We're going to cut up the chicken, and we are going to make our dumplings. So this is the way our dumplings look, or our stock looks after about 30 minutes. I cut a little bit to see if the chicken was cooked all the way through. It's a tiny bit pink, but we're going to be cutting that chicken and putting it back in to simmer more, so it doesn't need to be really overdone. In fact, between overdone and pink, leave it at pink because we don't want to get the meat super tough. As you can see, there's a ton more liquid in here than there was when we started. We've really increased the amount of the stock, and I tasted it a second ago, and it's really, really good. I'm super excited. So we're going to take it off the heat, and we are going to cut that meat off the bone. So once your chicken is cooked and the stock is ready, you're going to want to remove, I can do this, remove the chicken, set it aside. You are going to strain the broth into a bowl. So it looks pretty ugly right now. Obviously you're going to discard everything we've put in there, but you're going to want to pick out the carrots, which you can do after this is back on. It's not too big of a deal. The next thing we're going to do is take our meat and we're going to remove, ooh, that's a lot of stuff. We're going to remove the meat from the bones, and we're going to remove the skin as well. So this is pretty hot. You may want to let it cool down for a few minutes. I'm just going to give kind of a brief example of what you want to do. So you're going to see the bone, see the skin. We're going to want to pull the skin off. Hopefully you're not too squeamish. If my sisters are watching this, they should probably fast forward immediately because they're not going to like it. Take a knife. You're going to cut the meat off or pull it off. It's really good white meat. It doesn't look like it would be based on the way that the chicken looks, but it's good. It's really moist. Like I said, this is pretty hot. Either let it cool down or use a knife or something. But so get as much meat as you can off. And then you're obviously going to discard these bones and the skin. If you hadn't just done this, if you were just cutting meat off, I would say save it for a stock, but we've basically already used it for a stock. So you're going to cut the pieces about this big, however you like. So why don't you go ahead and cut these other 2 pieces of meat, and we'll be back in a second for the next step. So now that everything's cut up and we separated out the carrots, we're going to set that aside. I just tried to be badass and cut the chicken with my fingers, and I burned the bejesus out of myself. So definitely don't do that. Either let it cool down or get 2 things to cut it with because it hurt. So now we're going to make the dumplings. It's pretty simple. We are going to add our flour. And we're going to do our sugar, our baking powder, and our salt. We need all of that because that's our leavening agent. And then our cornmeal. We're just gonna mix this up. Great, so the next thing is our cream. If you wanted to be all healthy, you could use regular milk, but that's really boring. If you get hit by a bus tomorrow, you're gonna wish that you had used cream. So we're just gonna mix this until it's moistened. Okay, I'm looking at my recipe. So it's really wet, and that's okay because it's gonna get cooked into the liquid. So it looks like everything's moistened. We don't want to overmix it, which I'm probably doing a little bit, but it's cool. I'm gonna set that aside. Then we're gonna add all of our ingredients back into the pot and get the dumplings going. Now let's pour in our flour. Now we're gonna use the whisk again because the last thing we want is lumps, and you can kind of see lumps are already forming. So we want to stir it up nice and good. So it's definitely mixed, it's thickening. You've got it at kind of a simmer. So now we're gonna add all of our ingredients back in. We're gonna take our wonderful chicken stock, pour that back in. Got a little piece of celery in there. And we're going to take our carrots and our chicken. We're going to pour that in. And now that we have a nice boil, I'm going to take our dumplings and just throw them in there. Apparently, I was told on the phone a moment ago that chicken dumplings are a grandmother thing, and I was not aware of that. Or at least in the South, they're a grandmother thing. So my goal with this is to prove that person wrong, that chicken and dumplings doesn't have to be some sort of mediocre grandma dish. We're gonna let this go for 10 minutes and we're gonna check on it. I don't know if you can see it from this angle, but our sauce, or gravy has totally thickened up. Can you see that? Nice and thick. We still have a little bit of raw dumplings on the top. Underneath, they're already definitely starting to cook up. So this is the point where we're gonna wanna put the lid on, cook it for about 10 more minutes. That's gonna help the stuff on top finish cooking. So we are almost at the end. I can't wait to see how it tastes. It's gonna be amazing. So we've had the dumplings in covered for about 15 minutes. I looked after 10 minutes and they weren't done all the way through. So now that they're pretty much done, you can scoop it up and check and make sure that the inside is all the way done. The outside is gonna look kind of raw just because it's sitting in gravy. So just cut one open and see. So this is pretty much done. And I'm going to take it off the heat and plate it up and see how it tastes. Okay, so the dumplings are done and they look amazing. And Thomas is here laughing, making it really difficult to do this. Are you gonna...
Delicious.
So it's really good. It was a good thing that you aren't here. It's a good idea to leave the dumplings in a little bit longer because they're finally done, but if we had taken them out after 10 minutes, they wouldn't have been done. I also let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes longer so that it had time to solidify. So I think it's amazing. Thomas thinks it's And I hope that you enjoyed the video. Don't forget that if you want to see other videos, recipes, or anything else, you can visit my website, thehedonistcook.com. Thanks for watching.